you guys, this is Miss Caitlin from the Fibo Kids Art Academy, and today we're continuing with our Around the World series. We're going to be traveling to the United Kingdom today. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here is what we are going to be making today. So as you can see here, we have all the different samples of what we're going to be making. I have the map as well as the different places that we're going to be visiting. Just so that you remember, there are two ways to go about making this project. The first is to make either a wall map version or you can do the book version. Like always, I'm going to be doing the book version with you today, but you can feel free to make the map version as well. So let me go ahead and just set these things off to the side so that we can talk a little bit about those versions that we're going to make. So the first way you can go about this project is to make the large wall map version. So what you would do is you would take two pieces of watercolor paper, you would tape them together at the back, and then you would flip it over, and that way you could draw the map nice and big onto here. It's so big it doesn't fit onto my screen. Then what you would do is you would get some smaller pieces of paper. I would recommend cutting them to about like 2 inches by 2 inches, and you would draw the different landmarks that we're going to visit onto these little squares, and then we'll place them onto the map. Now, of course, I'm doing the book version, so I am just going to have these off to the side, and I'm going to make my map as well as my landmarks onto just individual pieces of watercolor paper. So all I need are just sheets of watercolor paper to make this project. All right, so for materials today, besides for the paper, you are going to need a pencil and an eraser as well as a Sharpie or some kind of permanent marker because for the map at least, we are going to do just a little bit of watercolor to fill in the country as well as the ocean, just like usual. For coloring our landmarks today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to use a lot of chalk pastel and maybe even a little tiny bit of colored pencil to color in. If you don't have chalk pastel, that's okay. You can just use whatever you have available to you, but that's just what I'm going to be doing for mine. Okay, so once you got all of your stuff at hand, let's go ahead and begin. There is no practice draw for our project. We're just going to jump right into making the map. So you're going to need either your large paper for your map, or you're going to need just a piece of watercolor paper. Like I said, we're just going to jump right in. So I will label this our final draw, just so that we're all on the same page. Now I want you to be using a pencil, but I'm going to use a Sharpie just so that you can see. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the United Kingdom. So check it out. This is an island nation, or kind of a collection of nations really, off of the coast of Western Europe. So this is a Western island nation. Now the United Kingdom is made up of England, Scotland. Scotland is a country or a section of the United Kingdom that's kind of up here. Wales, which is a little chunk over here, as well as Northern Ireland. This island right here is actually Ireland. So over here we have the country of Ireland. This part right here, Northern Ireland, that's a part of the United Kingdom. So you can see here, this is a very interesting shape. It almost kind of looks like one of those metal band guitars, which is perfect because punk kind of originates from England. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. We're going to start with the top part of the United Kingdom. We're going to begin with that first little chunk of land at the top here. So go to the top of your paper with your pencil, and we are going to draw a wavy line up, wavy line across, and a wavy line down. Now, because the United Kingdom is made up of a bunch of little pieces, it's very jagged, there's a lot of islands even coming off of it, it's okay if your wavy lines are not super precise like mine. It's just going to make it look more like the island itself. Now we're going to go here, we're going to draw a wavy line out, wavy line down. And then we kind of have this long edge here. So you can do this as jagged as you like. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to do a line out, kind of a wavy line in, wavy line out again. And then we almost want not a completely flat, but we do want almost a diagonal wavy line kind of going across the bottom here. I'm going to make that a little longer for myself. Then you're going to curve around, do a line in, wavy line out, up, around, go up a little bit, curve in, And then you're just gonna do a lot of really jagged, wavy lines until you make your way back towards the top, kind of like this. Next, we need Ireland and Northern Ireland over here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna draw kind of a large backwards C shape. Curve down, curve around, go up, curve back in to touch right here. Now we do want to separate Northern Ireland from the rest of the country of Ireland, because again, we're talking about the United Kingdom over here. So do just a wavy line like this to kind of divide it right here. We're going to draw a couple little islands that are coming off the United Kingdom. So you can go to the top here and you're just going to draw two little chunks of land. They don't have to be very big at all. And there we have it. Now, you should definitely do this part in pencil, but I'm going to do it in Sharpie just so that you can see. We're going to draw in the lines for the flag. Now, the flag of the United Kingdom, it's really cool. It's called the Union Jack because it's made up of a bunch of different flags that make up the United Kingdom. So remember when I kind of said like it's made up of England, Scotland, and Wales? Well, those were at one point different countries, and they all kind of united under one kingdom, so hence the United Kingdom. So this flag is kind of made up of their different flags that they had. So as you can see, there's a lot of diagonal lines, a lot of horizontal lines, kind of like little pluses and X's going all over each other. I'm going to help us draw this. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to draw this middle plus here. You can kind of see it. So I want you to go into the middle of your paper. Or sorry, not the middle of your paper, the middle of the United Kingdom. I want you to draw two lines down. Don't go all the way down. This is going to be, again, to start that plus. Then you're going to draw a horizontal line. And then a horizontal line. Next, we're going to draw the bottom part of that plus for the red. We're going to draw a horizontal line. You might have some room here in Northern Ireland to continue that. Maybe a little room here too. And then you're just going to draw two more lines down to get that plus sign. All right, next we're going to do the part of the Union Jack that is the white. So the white is kind of a border along the red plus, but there's also a diagonal part that's coming out from it. So that means that this is going to make it a little tricky. These lines that we're going to draw are going to be kind of like pizza shapes. That's the best way I can describe it. So I want us to go back towards the top, start about here. I want you to draw just a straight line down. And before you get to that edge, draw a triangle shape upwards. Kind of like this. You can see it's like a little pizza slice that we made. Again, we're going to start over here. We're going to draw a straight line down. Before we stop, draw a diagonal line upwards. All right, so we do need a border over on this side next to this red plus. So I want you to just draw another horizontal line right here, and that'll be the border. And now we're going to go ahead and do the part of the white that is on this section here. So to make it easy on us, start from the bottom of the country. Draw a straight line up. Don't go all the way. Then draw a diagonal line. We have some space here, at least I do. So I'm going to draw a tiny little triangle. And that's going to help it look like that diagonal line is coming out. Same thing other side. Start from the bottom of the country. Draw a straight line up. Draw a diagonal line down. And then, hey, we got some space. So I'm going to draw a horizontal line and a diagonal line. Just like that. And that's all we're going to draw for the Union Jack. Now, what I want you to do is think about maybe some decorations you want to add into the ocean. You can see on the example map, we've added a little whale's tail as well as a boat. So you can go ahead and just take a moment to add in any extra stuff you want to add in. I will show you where the capital is if that's something you want to write. We do have a lot of just stuff we have to draw. So I'll draw it on my map here, but you do not have to write it in. So the capital of the United Kingdom is London. It's actually the capital of England. So London is just about here. So I'll mark it with a little dot. And I'm actually going to write the name down here just because, again, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to draw here. So I'm going to put that little dot, I'll put a little line, and I'll write London. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do, I want you to outline just the country shape and just these wavy lines with a permanent marker. So don't outline any part of the flag that is on the inside. For me, it's going to be already outlined with a Sharpie because that's what I was going to show you with, because pencil, again, doesn't show up very well, but you're going to just outline the lines of the country. You can kind of use my example here to see what we're going to do. So go ahead and pause the video and just outline your lines for the country shape, and you can outline if you want the capital. And then you can resume the video once you're ready to start on some coloring for the map. All right, since you're resuming, I'm assuming you're ready to go on some coloring here. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna break out some oil pastels. Now I know I didn't say you needed these, but you can break out some oil pastels if you have them, or some crayons. This part is kind of optional. You don't have to do it if you don't have the material or if you don't think that you want to do this for your map, but I think it looks really cool, so I would encourage you to give it a try. What we're gonna do with our oil pastels is I am going to outline the Union Jack with its appropriate colors. So this is kind of what we're gonna do instead of outlining those different parts in Sharpie. So if you see here on the map, on our flag, instead of doing Sharpie lines, I did the outlines with a red oil pastel. I did the same thing to kind of show the blue on the inside and separate it from the white. So I want you to follow along with me. I want you to grab a red oil pastel. Here's mine. In fact, I think I'm going to have to move these over here just because I'm left-handed and it might get in my way. All right, so what I'm going to do is for that red plus sign, remember, I am going to outline those lines with a red oil pastel. You can also use a red crayon if you have that. You can even do this with like a pencil if you have like a very strong color pencil. So something maybe that is wax-based or is a little bit like a creamy pencil. Prismacolor would work pretty well if that is something you have. Definitely don't use a watercolor pencil to outline because we're going to do watercolor on top. So again, we're just doing this middle plus sign, giving it a nice firm outline with the red. There we go. All right, so once you have that inner plus sign outlined, now we're gonna add the red diagonal lines that actually go on the inside of these white diagonal lines. So what you're gonna do, you can take your red oil pastel, you're gonna just draw a line on the inner parts of those diagonal lines we made. For me, it goes all the way out to this little island right here, so I'm going to be sure to include it there. So it should look something kind of like this once you're done with the red. Next, we're going to go ahead and outline the areas here with a blue, just so that we can make the white stripes, the white areas stand out. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a blue oil pastel. I recommend a dark blue of some kind. And I'm going to outline those little pizza slices that we drew in, including that little part there. Got to make sure I get the outside area here and here. Oh, that's actually a white stripe. Don't outline there. You can even outline around the edges of the country here. Again, pressing pretty hard. This part might take you a little while because again, we're being a little bit more careful and detailed. The this flag I find even when I draw it freehand, it's pretty tricky. There's a lot of lines going on. All right, going around the edge here. Still being careful. Got another pizza slice over here I gotta do. All right, there we go. Now, what I think is so cool about the United Kingdom, they do speak English in the United Kingdom. In fact, English comes from England. Maybe you guys already knew that. But what's cool is that there are a lot of other languages that originated from this island area here, like Welsh. Welsh is another language that comes from here. There's even Gaelic, which is another language that people speak from this United Kingdom area. There's even Irish. All right, so you should have all your stuff outlined by this point. If you want, you can take an oil pastel, maybe with like a brown or a green, and outline the rest of Ireland over here. But again, we're gonna be focusing on just the United Kingdom. And I just realized I think I might need to outline with blue this little guy right here. Okay, so now I'm gonna add some lines for my water. For our section of the Around the World, we've been doing a lot of very green water. So I'm gonna again go back in with green, and I'm gonna add some lines for the ocean. At this point, you can feel free to color in any extra details that you added. Remember, for me, I had added those boats as well as a whale, but you can add whatever it is that you wanted to add in. You can color that now. I'm gonna use a light blue today for the other waves. Now you can add as many or as few water lines or waves as you like. It's really up to you. I'm gonna add that. I think I'll do a couple in white so they'll show up when I do my watercolor. And there we have it. So that's all I'm gonna use the oil pastel for, and now I'm gonna go ahead and put these away. And now I'm gonna go ahead and fill everything in with watercolor. So I have my watercolor palette right here. I have my bucket off to the side just so that there's some space. And for this, because we're gonna be filling in some very small areas, I actually have this brush here. I know normally I use this one, but I would encourage you also to have maybe a smaller brush of some kind. So I'm gonna get my brush nice and wet. I'm gonna start with filling in that red plus sign. The red on the flag is this very like deep color, so I would recommend finding, instead of a red orange, just a very solid red color to fill this in with. So just that plus sign. If you want to add more definition to the diagonal red lines, you are free to take your brush and maybe just next to the oil pastel, add in a line or stroke or two of the watercolor. This is optional. I did it on my other map. You can do it too. I usually think this looks pretty nice. The oil pastel is still going to resist that watercolor. It just makes it look really solid, that's all. All right, next we're gonna fill in the blue of the flag. So this, I want definitely a very nice, dark, strong blue. So I'm gonna pick up this blue I have here, and I'm gonna fill in our pizza slices of the flag. So that's gonna be this part right here, this little chunk of the island. If you're confused on which parts you have to color in, you can of course pause the video to see which parts I'm filling in with blue. I know there's a lot of lines for this flag. No, just a lot of sections. So if you need to pause the video right here, because I filled in all the sections that are supposed to be blue, go ahead and pause and just kind of play a matching game with your map and mine to see where you need to fill stuff in. Once you're done filling in the blue, let's just fill in Ireland real quick. I'm going to do Ireland with a brown color today. So I'm going to pick up the brown, and And I'm just going to very carefully fill in this area here. All right. Now the United Kingdom is known for having lots of rain and having very dreary kind of skies. So sunshine and sunny days are very special, or at least that's what I hear, because they don't get them as often. Usually their skies are very, very cloudy. Maybe if you live somewhere else in the world, maybe that's normal for you too, but here in California, it's usually very, very sunny. So it's kind of the opposite, United Kingdom and where we live. All right, once you're done filling in Ireland, let's go ahead and fill in the ocean. I'm gonna go ahead and move in with some kind of a turquoise light blue and do a little bit of green, kind of what we did for our other countries that we visited so far. Now you could switch to a larger brush for this part. There are a lot of little nooks and crannies to get around. So if you feel more comfortable using the brush that you used to fill in the United Kingdom with, that's fine. Just take your time and try your best. Getting into those little areas here. Might just paint with water there, add a little bit of the light green. Get sort of like that watery green look. Oh yes, I do like how that looks. Now because the United Kingdom gets a lot of rain, it's very, very green there. There's just a lot of plants and trees and forests and meadows. The United Kingdom is also where we get stories like the Knights of the Round Table and King Arthur and the Sword and the Stone. Which maybe are some fairy tales that you are familiar with. This is also where we get kind of the idea of unicorns and those kinds of mythical creatures like a griffin. I'm sure maybe those come from other places too, but I think when we think of England, unicorns are associated here. As well, the United Kingdom in England is where Harry Potter takes place, or at least where we first find Harry Potter, our protagonist. All right, almost done with that water. I'm gonna go in with a little bit of green, then pick back up with the blue. Really spread that out. The key to having smooth watercolors is just to be mindful of what you have on your brush, like how much water you have and how much paint that you have. Keeping just a good eye and being mindful of that is key to making sure that your watercolor turns out the way that you want it to. All right, so for me, I just had a bunch of water there. I know I need to smooth that out. Add a little bit more blue down here. It's looking a little too green. There we go. All right, so you can feel free to add more detail to your map later, but right now it's very, very wet. So I'm gonna set my watercolors aside and we're gonna go ahead and visit some landmarks. So go ahead and set your map off to the side. If you have extra like watercolor that's on your table, take like a paper towel. In this case for me, I have wipes here. And I'm just gonna wipe down this area so I don't get any of that blue onto my next paper. All right, so if you are doing the book version like me, at this point you are gonna go ahead and take out another piece of watercolor paper. If you're doing the map version, you are going to take out one of those little squares that you cut out. Okay? All right, so we're moving back to using our pencil. And we're going to go ahead and visit some places. The first place we're going to visit is called Stonehenge. Maybe you've heard of it before. So I'm going to show you the example of Stonehenge that we're going to make today. Check it out. So Stonehenge, I think, is really, really cool. It is this ring of standing stones. The stones are 13 feet tall and about 7 feet across, so they're huge. And they're made into like this ring shape. Now, the most popular story of Stonehenge is that it was built by Druids. Now, Druids are these Celtic high priests, and they believe, and what people think, is that they used Stonehenge for ceremonies. Now, it's believed that the summer solstice, has been celebrated at Stonehenge for hundreds and hundreds of years. And Stonehenge is considered to be one of the oldest, or just a very popular, at least, Neolithic monuments. Maybe some of you might remember the word Neolithic from our ancient art series and our art history series. All right, so let's go ahead and draw it. Grab your pencil. I'm using a Sharpie just like always. So what the first thing we're going to do is we need to draw the ground that Stonehenge is going to be sitting on. So I'm going to start from one side of my paper, and I'm actually just going to draw a very long, almost rainbow line all the way across. Next, we're going to go ahead and draw the stones that are for the kind of main entrance or the main part of Stonehenge that you kind of see in the pictures. So for this, we're just going to draw 2 lines up. It's okay if they're not completely even. The stones aren't perfect. Then you're going to draw a horizontal line across. And you're going to do that 4 times for the stones in the middle, kind of for this entrance part. Then you're going to draw a horizontal line across the top of the stones. Draw 2 straight lines up, and then connect. Next, we're going to go ahead and draw the edges of Stonehenge, just some other stones that we want to be very tall and to include. So for here, I'm going to draw another tall stone. So again, I'm drawing 2 straight lines down and a horizontal line to connect. It's almost like you were going to draw a rectangle. And then on top, I want you to draw just a small stone resting on the top of that one. We're going to go over here. I want you to draw 2 stones, 2 very tall stones, the same way we have been. And then you're going to draw another stone resting on the top, kind of like you're drawing a horizontal box. And there we have it. That's Stonehenge. Super easy, right? Then we're going to just draw a couple of lines down here for grass. So on the bottom here, I'm drawing like these number 11s to show the grass that Stonehenge is surrounded by. All right, so we'll color all of Stonehenge in just a moment, but let's go ahead and set this aside so we can draw our other landmarks. The next landmark that we're going to visit is actually a university. Now, we are going to draw Oxford University, or the University of Oxford. Now, this is a very, very old university, an old place of learning that is in England. In fact, one of my family members has actually been to Oxford. They got the chance to go to study. So Oxford is this really beautiful university, and it's one of the oldest in the entire world. It's believed that there were people teaching at this university as early as the year 1096. So that's the year 1096. That's a very long time ago. In fact, that is almost 1,000 years ago. Today, to give you guys an example of how prestigious this university is in modern days, the last time the acceptance rate was counted was in 2015. So that means Oxford University in 2015, at least this is what I found, their acceptance rate, that means the number of people they accepted from the many who applied, was 17.5%. So of everybody who applied to the University of Oxford, only 17% of those people were accepted. So it's very prestigious. It's quite an honor to attend Oxford. So we're going to draw it. So to draw Oxford University, there is this kind of dome building that you can see. You can kind of Google it as well to get an idea of how it looks. We're going to draw a very simple version of it today. So what I want you to do is go towards the bottom of your paper, and I want you to draw just a big U shape. Next, I want you to go ahead and draw 2 straight lines up. We're going to kind of make the dome like we did for the Duomo in Italy when we visited there. Next, I want you to draw a rainbow line across. And it's okay if it kind of goes off the edge of your paper. It is a big building, but I want you now to draw a big rainbow line to make a dome on the top. All right, next what we're going to do is we are going to draw a rainbow line in the center here. We're kind of drawing the dome in perspective a little bit. And then we're going to draw the building that's behind. So I want you to go to one side. You're going to draw a diagonal line up. Go to the other, draw a diagonal line up. Same thing, other side, draw another diagonal line up, another diagonal line up. Now you're going to go to about here on your dome, and you're going to draw a diagonal line down. Same thing, other side, diagonal line down. Now let's add in some windows and some decor. The first thing we want to do is we want to make this look more like a dome. So go to the top of your dome and draw one curved line down and another curved line down. For the windows, you're going to draw on the top part a rainbow and a rainbow. Connect, connect. This side, you're going to draw slanted rainbow, connect, connect. Other side, slanted rainbow, connect, connect. Now down here, same thing, except you're going to draw rainbow U shape. Connect, connect. Slanted rainbow, slanted U shape. Connect, connect. Same thing, other side. Slanted rainbow, slanted U shape. And then connect, and then connect. Just make sure that everything touches. All right, next we're going to draw some windows. Now this part's pretty fun. The windows that are on the edges here need to be bigger because they're actually closer to us. And as they get farther away, they're going to get smaller. So you're going to draw a tall rainbow and a horizontal line. And then you're going to make them smaller as you get closer to the dome. Okay? So go ahead and add in 3 windows on each side, making sure that the closer you get to the dome, the smaller the windows get. Last but not least, we're going to go to the top. There are kind of like these spikes that are on the top of the building here. So you're going to go to the top and just draw 1, 2, 3 of these. And remember, the closer it gets to the dome, because the farther away it's going, it gets smaller. So draw 1, 2, 3. All right, we've got our university all drawn here. So we're going to come back to this and color it in after we visit our last landmark, which is probably the most famous one of all time. It's the one that you think of when you see or hear the word England or United Kingdom. And this is going to be Big Ben, the clock tower. Check it out. So let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about the United Kingdom here, or at least about Big Ben. Now, Big Ben is actually a nickname that's given to this clock tower. It is actually called the Great Bell of the clock tower in the Palace of Westminster. Now, there's actually a couple names that it goes by. I think now it is called the Elizabeth Tower, but it's been called other names in the past. It was constructed, or at least construction began in 1843, and it opened to the public, or it just opened in general in 1859. It is about 315 feet tall. It's very big. So we're gonna go ahead and draw it out. Now this is gonna be pretty easy because it's actually just a lot of squares and a circle for the clock in the middle. So the first thing I want you to draw is just a really big square or rectangle in the middle of your paper. Again, you're doing this in pencil. If you want to be a little fancy, you can do 2 curves on the ends and then connect. Next, you're going to draw 2 straight lines down, 2 straight lines up, connect, draw a diagonal line in, connect, and then just draw 2 straight lines off the end of your paper there. Next, on this main square here, you're going to draw another square on the inside. We want this to be a little bit smaller. And then you're just going to draw a circle for the clock. Now let's go ahead and add in some detail. Let's add the windows first. We're going to draw the windows and the arches that are down here. So let's go ahead and use little rainbows and draw a bunch of them on the bottom here. Next, we're going to do the same thing in this area, but this time those are going to be tall. So now I want you to make tall rainbows on the top. Almost all the way across. Try to make them about as even as you can. Now on the edges here, right here and right here, I want you to make 1, 2 spikes. Then on the edges, just on this side, I want you to draw 1, 2, 3, 4 horizontal lines. Hop to the other, draw 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just draw some straight lines here. All right, let's go ahead and work on the clock. So we're just gonna mark the 12, the 3, the 6, and the 9 spaces. We won't get too terribly detailed with this because I know some of you are drawing this very small. So just make a little line here, 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 and here to represent the numbers. And then we'll draw the hands of the clock. So go ahead and make a dot in the center. We're gonna draw the short hour hand facing the 6 mark. And then you can kind of decide where you want to put the minute hand. I'm going to put my minute hand going this way. So I'm going to draw a diagonal line like this. And make sure that this one is longer than the hour hand. And there you have it. Now if you'd like, you can take your pencil and also add in just some boxes here for texture on the top. This is kind of like a roof. But you can do that in marker too if you just want to draw some strokes there. All right, so now we have visited all of our places. We have them all drawn out. So what I want you to do now is take a permanent marker or just a marker of some kind, and I want you to go ahead and outline all of our pencil lines with Sharpie or that marker. So go ahead and pause the video. I'll give you some time to do this. I know there's like a lot of places we visited. It's hard to fit them all on the screen, but go ahead and do that. Outline all of your pencil lines and then return and we'll start coloring. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and begin on coloring in our landmarks. We're gonna begin with Stonehenge again because that is the first one that we started with. So like I said, I'm actually gonna be using a lot of chalk pastel today. So let me show you again what Stonehenge looks like all colored in so you can get an idea of what we're gonna do. So the first thing we're gonna do, just because Stonehenge, actually not that detailed because again it's just stone. We're going to use sort of a tan or gold color to fill in the stones. So find a tan or gold chalk pastel and we are going to just fill them in. Now I'm using the flat part of the tip of the chalk pastel. And I'm just doing like a couple of strokes on the inside of the stones because I'm not going to need that much. With chalk pastel, you don't have to press super duper hard because we're just going to spread out the dust that we put down. So I'm actually going to use one finger for this because this top part is kind of thin. I'm just going to blend that all in to make it nice and solid. You can even see I really didn't need that much. Now, if you don't have chalk pastel, that's okay. Just use your favorite material to fill in your landmarks. You could even use marker, you could use colored pencil. If you're gonna use colored pencil, it might take you a little longer and that's okay. Let's add some shading. So for shading, I'm gonna go in with a gray chalk pastel. And I'm only gonna shade on the right sides of the stone. So I'm gonna take the flat part of the tip again. I'm going to just make a line on all the right sides of Stonehenge, even these top parts here. Now I don't want to blend this away. I'm just going to take one finger. I'm going to pass over that line just to make it soft so it's not such a harsh edge. Ta-da! All right, if you have to wipe off your hands on a paper towel or just rinse them off really quickly or get a wipe, do so, because now we're going to go ahead and work on the background and I don't want my hands to have that gold or the gray on it. So I'm going to quickly just wipe off my hand from that. What I'm going to do now is I am going to do the blue sky and then I'm going to do the green grass. So for the sky, I'm going to pick a very light blue chalk pastel, but you can feel free to use whatever blue you like. And I'm going to use long strokes to just put down some chalk pastel. Again, you don't have to go back and forth and add a lot because we want to use just the dust. I always say less is more. And if you feel that maybe you didn't add enough, you can always go back and add more, but it's kind of hard to take away once you put down a lot of material. See, even with that much, it's just enough. As well, if some of your gold chalk pastel is getting in your way, just tap off your extra dust onto the table, or you can even tap it into a garbage can or a pail if you have it close to you. So I'm just being very careful. I'm blending all that in. And now I'm going to go ahead and move on to my grass. For my grass, I'm going to go ahead and fill it in with a green. Again, I might outline the edge right here using the flat tip of the chalk pastel. And then I'll do long horizontal strokes just to fill that in. And then using one or two fingers, I'm going to blend all of that chalk pastel and really fill in all those little white spaces to get it smooth. Now what you can do is that you can add a little bit of texture and shading into the grass since this is just a very simple piece. So you could take a lighter green and you could add like a line closest to Stonehenge. This green's a little dark for me, but just so that you could see, you could take that and blend really close to it. That might even add some shading. You could even take the same green and you can add horizontal strokes of it into the grass area. Not only will that give it shading, it'll also give it a little bit of texture just to make it look more interesting and kind of realistic. There we go, first one done. Again, I'm going to use my wipe off my hands because we're going to move on to the next landmark. And of course, please feel free to pause the video so that you can go at your own pace. You do not have to finish things at the same time as me. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next place, which was Oxford University for us. So for Oxford University, again, let me just show you. We're going to be using all those same colors again, actually. So I'm going to start with the gold since it's the lightest. So I'm going to take out my gold chalk pastel. I want to fill in the main part of the dome. Again, I'm outlining first, as well as this bottom half of the building on the sides. Then using long vertical strokes, just adding in just a bit of chalk pastel, and then I'll blend. Now you can see that I'm using one finger. That's because my hand is pretty big, so I don't have to use two to go pretty fast. But you should definitely try using two fingers if you find that using one is going too slow for you. All right, that's a lot of dust that's left over, so I'm just gonna tap that onto my table. And now I'm gonna go ahead and move back in with my gray to add in the rooftops, as well as a little bit of shading. Let's focus on the rooftops first. Take the flat part of the tip, outline the dome, as well as this top part of the building here. Do a couple of strokes just to get the color down. Then you can use one or two fingers to just blend that all in. Now I'm thinking this gray that I used may have been a bit light, so I'm going to go in with just a darker gray here. But you can also feel free to do. Here we are. Ah, much better. And I'm just going to go ahead and blend all of that. Now be careful once you start using darker colors, because you don't want that darker color dust to get in the way of your light colors. So just be careful and be mindful. Now I might fill in those little spikes afterwards. I do want them to be gray, but I know I need to fill in the sky. And if I try and fill them in right now, it might mix in with the blue. I don't want that. So now using the same gray color, I'm gonna add just a stroke or two into these windows on the side, but not these ones on the middle. Like this. Again, using the flat part of the tip, I'm gonna add more windows. I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 strokes. And then I want to add some shading on the dome here. So I'm going to take that gray chalk pastel and add a line and add a line. Just like what we did with Stonehenge, we don't want to blend this all away. You just want to blend these lines and those windows so that they're soft. So just kind of passing over it once. Take all of that extra dust, tap, 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 onto the table. Again, I have a lot of those dark gray colors on my hand right now, and I don't want that for filling in the sky and the grass. So I'm just going to quickly wipe that off. And I'm going to go ahead and take my same light blue, and I'm going to fill in the sky. Now I'm outlining around these edges here because I want to be very careful not to get any blue onto my building. Doing a couple strokes in the sky. Then I'm going in circular motions to blend all of that in. Definitely with chalk pastel, I recommend trying to blend using little circles. It helps it look more smooth and even in the end. All right, now that I got that blue down, remember I wanted to fill in those little spikes with the gray. I can go back in and add just those teeny tiny little lines with the gray. And I don't have to blend it since it's so small. It's just going to fill that whole space. Alrighty. Next, we can go ahead and work on the grass. So I'm going to go back in with this green. I'm going to again outline around my building. So I don't want to have any of that color accidentally going into it. I'm going to do long horizontal strokes. And then using circular motions, again, I am going to blend all of that. Now, if you feel that your color is looking a little bit light, again, you can add another layer of chalk pastel. Just be mindful of your dust. If you want to add a bit of texture, take a different color green, and you can use the flat part of the tip and just add a couple of strokes like this to add texture for the grass. So I'm going to add this all through the grass. And same deal, you can take one finger and just pass over that to make it soft. And there you have it. All right, last location. I'm having a lot of buildup of the chalk pastel here, so I'm gonna go ahead and just move these to the side for a little bit, and I'm gonna clean up some of that chalk pastel. You can do the same if your workspace has a lot of material on it. Just take a second to clean it off. No problems there. Alrighty, back to business. Last one, we have Big Ben. So for Big Ben, we are gonna go ahead, start with the gold once more, and we're gonna fill in a majority of the clock tower with this. And we'll go back in with our gray to add in the windows. So I'm gonna use the gold chalk pastel once more. I'm gonna probably just fill in all of these areas. I like to outline my space just to make those edges very defined. Don't forget about the little top part there. And be sure to outline around the face of the clock because we don't want that to be gold. We want that to be a different color. And then do just long strokes using the side of the chalk pastel. And then using 1 or 2 fingers, go ahead and blend that all in. Be careful not to be too aggressive with your blending because you don't want this gold to go into your sky. Don't forget the top part, hit around the edges, around the face of the clock. And there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and tap off that extra dust now. And we're gonna go back in with some of that gray. So I'm gonna take out the gray and I wanna fill in this kind of rooftop part here with this. So I'm gonna outline, add a couple of strokes. And I also want to fill in the windows. Now you could fill in the windows with colored pencil if you would wanted to. I'm just gonna do very carefully strokes with the gray. There we go. I'm also gonna do the same thing with the tiny little archways and windows down here. And then I will blend all of that in. Being very careful around those edges once more. Into these archways, I'm just doing one pass with my finger just to make it soft, just like we have been doing. Okay, again, I have kind of a dark color on my hand right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and just wipe that off. I'm gonna do blue for the face of the clock. So I'm gonna use a light blue. You can feel free to use a light gray as well. I'm gonna do blue just so we have a little bit more contrast. Using the flat part of the tip, I am outlining around the edge, and that's all I'm gonna do. And what I am going to blend is I'm gonna take that blue, I'm gonna pass over it with my finger, but then I'm gonna do little circles towards the center of the clock. Not only is that going to fill that space in, it's gonna make it look a little bit more shaded. Last but not least, we're gonna do a gradient of chalk pastel in the background to kind of make a sunset or a sunrise. So to do this, I want you to pick 2 warm colors. So a warm color is either a red, an orange, or a yellow. You could even do a magenta. In fact, that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna put the darker color on the top and the lighter color on the bottom. So for me, I'm gonna do magenta and orange. If you are gonna do a red and orange, put red on the top. All right, so again, what I'm gonna do to keep the edges kind of neat, I'm gonna outline kind of around the top half of my clock tower. I'm gonna stop about here. And then I'm gonna do long strokes to add my darker warm color to the top of my sky. All right, and then I'm gonna take my other warm color, which in this case is gonna be kind of this yellow-orange, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna outline around the clock tower on this side. Then I'm gonna do long strokes on the bottom. Now this is important. You wanna blend starting with your lighter color. So I'm not gonna start blending with the magenta. I'm gonna start blending with the yellow-orange on the bottom. Do little circles, really make sure you fill that in, and do it on both sides. Don't even touch your darker color on the top. Then you can start blending the spot where your darker warm color and your lighter warm color meet. And then you can start blending in the top half of your sky. So what that does is it makes sure that our light warm color doesn't just turn into like magenta, for example. It stays yellow-orange. It stays the light color that you put down. Now, of course, you can really build this up. On my camera, this is looking a lot lighter than it is in real life, but I encourage you to add maybe a couple layers either end to sort of really make that sunset or that sunrise look very intense and vibrant. At the end, make sure you tap off that extra chalk pastel, and then you're done. So now let's go ahead and take a moment to, again, kind of wipe off our hands. That was a lot of chalk pastel. And wipe off our desk. So I'm going to wipe off my hand here. I'm going to set our clock tower, our Big Ben, to the side. I'm going to take that wipe, or just maybe a towel if you have it. I'm going to wipe down that desk. So if you were doing the book version, you are all done. If you're doing the map version, you might like to know where to place the different landmarks. I will show you. So here's our example map from the beginning of class. Let me go ahead and grab in our little landmarks here. Here they are. Now, Big Ben is in London. So London, remember, is just about here. So if you wanted to put it really close to where London is, that's where you'd put it. Cambridge is where Oxford University is. So Oxford is actually over here. There's another province or area that is called Oxford, but Cambridge, where Oxford University is, it's just about over there. Now, Stonehenge is in this part of England, so you could put it here. Now, of course, you can kind of experiment with the placement of these. Maybe you might want to put one higher or lower. Maybe you want this over here and that over there to take up more space and kind of balance out your map. So that's really up to you. But that is the placement of where the actual places would be on the map for your own interest. All right, so that was our Around the World class for the United Kingdom. I hope you had a lot of fun. Remember to share what you make onto our Fibo Village Facebook page. I would love to see your projects, and I will see you all very soon. Bye for now.